working that middle, and once they get up to the front, they got to move out. They got to find a line to get in once they get there, but that middle works pretty good when they get 3 wide.
You're exactly right, Andy. It's amazing. It used to be where you never wanted to be at Daytona, Talladega. You never wanted to get yourself in that middle position, but the way the cars have changed, the drafting's changed over the years, and especially with now the pavement that we have here, how much adhesion you have to that, you can go anywhere you want, and that middle actually opens up because they're splitting the air on both sides of you, and that air is not there, so you can get a good run. But you're right, you do have to find somewhere to go once you get up in that top 4 or 5. You've got to find a place to get settled into.
There's the 33 of Tony Stewart being shown back in 39th position.
79 is what the...
Let's check in his pits with Dave Burns.
And Jason Leffler with a problem on track, too, guys. Tony's car popped out of gear, and one of the things he was saying that he just said 79. It went to 7,900 on the rev limiter, but that's why he dropped way back. Car popped out of gear.
All right, yellow on the track for the first time today, and Jason Leffler, who qualified 3rd and pulled up on lap 1 out of turn 2 very high, now having troubles. And Dale, he's had some contact with the wall.
Yeah, he has had some contact with the wall, and we'll see right here if something else might have started that contact.
Oh, he got a little bit of a tap from behind.
Yeah,
turned him straight in the fence.
Yeah, you know, this is part of the bump drafting that goes on here, and I think this is just a product of that.
Top of 2 now. Top of 3 again.
It looked like a pretty straight bump, but it turned Jason Leffler's car to the right and got him in the wall. He didn't have much room to work with.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes you're actually right there in that position. Jason Leffler might have been in a position where he was having to roll out of the throttle just a little bit. And when you do that, sometimes your car will just move around on its own. And so he may have been correcting the wheel a little bit to the right, and that bump is all it takes, and you're straight into the wall.
All right, we are under yellow for the first time today. Lap number 4 at Talladega. A bit of a tap from behind, and Toyota driver Jason Leffler has significant damage on the side of his car. They come roaring out of turn 4 at 190 miles an hour, and it doesn't take much to have a problem.
Just 5 laps in, the first victim of the bump drafting. Jason, what happened?
I just got hit from behind. I know Casey Mears was behind me, and obviously someone got him, but when the way it got into me, it just lifted my back tires off the ground and steered me right in the fence. It's, I don't know, I'm just, no, I mean, obviously I'm pretty pissed off, you know, and just really, really angry. But, I mean, that's the way it is. That's racing. You take the good with the bad, and get this great Clips Toyota up front next week.
Doc, that just capitalizes a frustrating and disappointing season so far for Jason Leffler.
All right, Jamie, well, contact, and Ward Burton is tapped. His car gets sideways. There's Rudeman's car sliding broadside into turn 1. Other cars up against the wall, against the concrete.
Keep it up straight. You're okay. Just lock her down. All right. We didn't hit nothing, guys. Keep rolling. When you get a chance, keep rolling. Pace car's just off of 2 there.
And Ward Burton's car was running second, got a tap from the high side. He tried to avoid the car coming down. He got sideways. Here's Martin Truex. There's the 29 of Scott Wimmer.
Tell you, real lucky that wasn't what we call the big one. Not too many cars. It only looks like this 29 car is the only one that's got any significant damage from that. That could have been huge.
Yeah, that had the makings right where it happened, obviously, with Ward running second of tearing up a lot of race cars. But these guys did a terrific job in missing that.
Let's see if we can see what happened here a moment ago. Now watch the 2 car and the 27 of Ward Burton.
Just a light tap there, but these cars they have so little downforce on this kind of racetrack, and they're kind of they're making a pretty good turn right through the tri-oval too, and yeah, once they make contact.
Yeah, you don't realize just how much, in looking at this racetrack, how much steering you have in the car through the tri-oval, and it doesn't take much. And it looked like Ward, there's a seam right there in the racetrack where, after this was repaved, when you're right down against the yellow line and you get to that first white line, there's a seam right there, and actually your car will get in that, and it'll actually move one way or the other. And it looks like maybe Ward's right front got in there and went up the racetrack just a little bit. I'm just guessing that happened because I've had it happen in my car before.
Here's Martin Truex onboard camera. He goes up and he boom.
He hit the wall, guys.
Oh, he hit the wall pretty hard, DJ.
Yeah, we didn't see that as we were talking about the 29. Yeah, this looks like it's going to put an end to that streak.
Martin Truex, who had won 3 in a row. And now damage at the right side of that car after pancaking the wall. Here's Mike Wallace on board with the Geico Chevy.
Backer. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Blue, that's it, go. You're clear.
So Mike Wallace uses his spotter and does a great job of getting low and avoiding the accident at Talladega. Well, lap number 9, it breaks loose on the front straightaway. A tap between Boyer and Burton, and suddenly we've got a dozen cars spinning back with the green in a moment.
This is why I'm hot, hot. This is why I'm hot, hot.
Just out to a 5, 6, 7 car length lead, and nobody else has been able to do that. But we talk about the high line, but then the next thing you know, these guys come right back around on the bottom, chucked up together. And that's the key, is Kyle Busch is able to stay with Casey Mears and not just push him out and let him go. He's able to stay right with him.
Able to keep that gap just right against the bumper, and that really does make a big difference.
All right, Rick Hendrick has 8 Cup wins here at Talladega, but he's never been a Busch Series owner. His cars run 1-2 as we check in their pits with Mike.
Well, Doc, just a couple of years ago, Rick Hendrick got really discouraged with how badly his teams were getting beat by the DEI cars at restrictor plate tracks. Also a little bit discouraged with how there was a gap between his own race cars. So what did he do? He implemented a specialized team completely dedicated to restrictor plate racing. Less than a dozen people. Oh, and we've got trouble on the track, and it's Kyle Busch upside down.
Big time crash. Kyle Busch goes upside down and rolls down across on his roof here on lap 26. Cars comes back over, and now side over side barrel rolls and comes to rest on its wheels. A horrific crash here at Talladega on lap 26 involving Kyle Busch, and thankfully the window net is down. There, the safety crews on the scene immediately, and Kyle Busch is climbing out of that car. Wow, listen to this crowd.
Well, that's a true testament to the safety of these race cars. See him just jump out of that car like that. That was what would look like a very violent wreck, but man, he just jumped right out of there. It's a real testament to the safety features that these cars have.
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you again here. That doesn't take much here. Now, Kyle Busch, left side of your screen in the 5 car.
He moved to the outside to go around Casey Mears. It looked like Tony was going to go out there to help him, and it could have possibly been a little bit of contact. It doesn't always have to be, because you can get yourself out there, and all of a sudden the air's changing, and just a horrific wreck. But once again, Kyle Busch gets out and walks away.
We sure did a lot of damage. But it looked to me like right here, as we watch this, it looked like that maybe they all started stacking up. It's hard to say that Tony Stewart wasn't getting some help from behind, or maybe even further back than right behind him. Like they're all just kind of stacking up.
Yeah. Yeah, when that happens, usually because everything changes, the air changes, and what you've been doing right there, you might have been wide open at that time, and then all of a sudden things change. And so, you can't put any blame on anybody, I don't think, here. Although I think we do see a little contact between the 33 and the 5. But when he pulls out there, that car is automatically going to start coming back a little bit, because he's come out against a brick wall of wind right there. Even though he's got to run, that car automatically slows down when he pulls out there until he starts getting that help.
So if you're Tony Stewart, and you're trying to get out of the gas and you're getting hit from behind, have you ever had that happen where you get hit from behind and you can't actually slow your car down and try to avoid that wreck?
Somewhat reminiscent of the Brian Vickers, Jimmy Johnson contact in the Cup race last fall. Inconsequential, wasn't intended to happen. One car makes a move, another one just gets a slight tap, and off they go. On board here with David Rudiman.
3 wide. Bracket, back it down, stay high, good job.
You can see the tire flying up through the air. David Rudiman just went under the tire. It looked like he just ripped it right off the wheel.
Yeah, that's almost a helpless feeling. You're sitting there wondering what's going to happen up in front of you as you're within 100 yards of everything happening, but you have debris flying everywhere and cars going everywhere. Everybody trying to avoid it, but David did a great job.
Okay, leaders on pit road. Let's go down to Jamie. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, we are under yellow once again, this for the 4th time today. And at these speeds, it doesn't take much at all to have a problem. And there's a 25 car of 31-year-old David Gilliland. And here's what happened to him just a moment ago.
Well, it looked like David had thoughts where he had a push from the 33 car of Tony Stewart, and he had thoughts of going around Casey Mears, the leader, on the outside. but Tony was just basically faking him out and went to the inside, and then David tried to cover that spot and just wasn't there for him to get back down.
Yeah, that's a risky move when you pull down in front of somebody that's coming like that. And, you know, it might, especially at this point of the race, it might have been better just to stay up a lane than to risk something to get clipped. But this is a fairly aggressive move by Tony. He's kind of pushing him up through there and trying to go for that spot. I think Dave Burns, you've got more on Tony Stewart.
That's right, Andy. Been monitoring his radio, and he said right after that, he said, David can't just come down and try to cover that position every time he doesn't want me to pass him. So you guys have kind of called it right. Tony stuck his nose in there, and David was trying to block. Yeah,
it looks like he learned a hard lesson right there, Dave. It's, you know, that's just kind of this kind of racing. It takes years sometimes to figure out how to do it, and he got a good lesson there.
Yeah, you're a little aggravated as a driver that you thought that you had that push from the car behind you, that you were going to go take the lead, and the next thing you know, he's kind of made a fake to you, and he's trying to cover that inside then, and you try to get back there to block it. And again, with these rules and things, yeah, he would. It's easy to sit here and say now would have been better off to have waited and tried to make that move again later. Lost what spots.
We have now equaled the all-time NASCAR Busch Series record for lead changes at Talladega. 30 lead changes. 16 different cars have led as Kevin Harvick, now reigning NASCAR Busch champion, goes to the point, and here comes Montoya.
He has a really fast race car. Seems his car really runs good off the corner. He gets a good run there, and he had gotten a push from Greg Biffle to send him up there. Now he's going to need Biffle to get back to his bumper, or he's going to be hung out on the outside once again.
Yeah, the 42 car has been consistently at the front all day.
Crash.
And trouble on a racetrack. A couple of cars involved. Biffle in the 16 car down across the grass. There's Greg Biffle sliding the former champion. John Wood in the 47 car.
Okay. Somebody got us in the right rear, guys. Turned his head on in the wall.
So caution for the 5th time a day, and John Wood was having a very good run, as was Greg Biffle, but John Wood just can't buy a break.
He sure can't. A very talented young man and driver, but that last 3 weeks just hasn't had any luck whatsoever. We have a look here at the replay. See Biffle right in the middle of the racetrack there. We've got Carl Edwards coming up to him.
Oh, we see a big hard bump draft right there, and that was just, there was just too much closure rate. They were coming too fast into each other.
Yeah, and he was pushing him to the 42, and then the 16 car, Greg Biffle, couldn't go any further, and he got one more big shot, and that turned him to the right into the wall.
Biffle at 190 plus miles an hour with that Ford Fusion comes across and just catches the right rear fender of John Wood. As we ride on board now with the 90 car of Stephen Light and see his point of view.
Good job, man. Good job. All right, talk to me when you get a chance. Just a little.
Oh, John Wood just can't catch it. John Wood was one of those cars laying back with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Bobby Labonte and those guys. He'd been back in that other pack, and it looked like he had just kind of started making his move to the front, and then gets caught up in somebody else's wreck.
Well, there's an example that my deal doesn't work all the time either, so you just never know when it's gonna happen to you, and it is unfortunate for John Wood. That team is working extremely hard. I think the world of the Wood family, and John does have a lot of talent, but he just can't seem to be in the right place at the right time here recently.
All right, here's Shane Huffman, who is our Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner here. He will get his lap back. He is the first car 1 lap down here as we work the 5th caution flag of the afternoon, the U.S. Navy Chevrolet, and he will get back his lap that he was behind the leaders.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge break for Shane Huffman because he's got a fast race car, and now he's going to be able to get up here and race him.
Back at Talladega Superspeedway, caution once again. Eric Almirola, the Tampa, Florida native, has had contact with his Joe Gibbs Chevrolet. And yes, the yellow flag waves for the 6th time today with just 15 laps to go here at Talladega. Right side of your screen, watch the 20 car. And right behind him is Ward Burton as his car goes around and goes up across the racetrack. Great job by Bobby Labonte in the 77 to miss him, but he does have contact with the concrete.
Yeah, you could see as they were coming through the corner there that things were kind of stacking up. Everybody looked like they were kind of settling in for a few laps, single file down on the bottom, but they got to jamming up. And before it was over, Ward Burton was getting hit from behind, and then he got into the 20 car.
Clear high.
And that's another one of those cases to where it's really, don't know that you can say it's anybody's fault. It's just everybody's running into each other. Mike Bliss in the 22 is behind Ward Burton, and they're all just hitting each other in the corner. And I've said it many times before, if we're going to run into each other in the corners, things are probably going to happen.
On board here is the David Rudeman onboard camera for the Aaron's Dream machine.
Stay low. All right, good job.
Well, how valuable are spotters here to help you when all that smoke is billowing in front of your windshield to be able to trust what you're hearing. Courageous move by Clint Boyer. He got up in front of the 60 car of Edwards and Casey Kane and Montoya, and now those guys are beginning to reel them in. A moment ago, we saw the differential in speed, and the high line was about 1.5 miles an hour or 2 miles an hour faster than the inside line.
Yeah, we've been seeing that on the backstretch, especially when these guys on the outside lane kind of run. It's almost like they're running in a little bit of a vacuum. When the inside line pulls down and they open up that outside line, it's almost like they're running in a little bit of a vacuum.
Yeah, the problem that they're going to have on the outside line, and these guys that are back 3 or 4 cars deep are going to not be quite as patient. They're going to want to try to either go to the middle or even make a third lane on the outside of there. And so then that's going to slow them down because they don't have that push. You can see right now the 2 car has nobody helping him whatsoever. His best bet probably would be to dive down in there, but he's lost that now as Ward Burton takes that spot away from him.
Yeah, they can't seem to get organized in that outside lane like they were earlier.
Whoa, contact. Stephen Wallace gets sideways. He is tapped from behind. And this is the one no one wanted, the big one late, and Stephen Light has nowhere to go head on into the 41 car. There's the 90 car of Stephen Light, who's having such a great run as the 41 car of Reed Sorensen got spun around. And looks like the 66 car of Stephen Wallace might have gotten a little tap. His car abruptly turned sideways, and boy, that Stephen Wallace cannot catch a break either. They have had miserable luck the last 3 or 4 events. And here's our in-race reporter in the Aaron's Dream machine, and there's the Dodge of Stephen Wallace. Says heavy damage on the front and rear. Reed Sorensen's Dodge for Chip Ganassi Racing.
A lot of good race cars torn up in this wreck.
From the Goodyear blimp, watch the 66 car.
Look in. He's up against the car right in front of him, who was Casey Kane, but he's still getting that push from behind because Reed Sorensen can't see that he's totally against that car, and that's where it just gets down to the end of this race, and we start. I say we do it in the Cup race too. You start running into each other and trying to help them get to the front as fast as you can.
Yeah, we heard Greg Biffle talking about it. That if you can't see through these race cars, so you can't tell what the guy in front of you is dealing with, and they just start stacking up. Can't really put the blame on one person here. It's just all kind of shared back through there.
Yeah, I'm sure Stephen, he's probably got a foot on the brake because he's right against the 9 car, but he's getting hit hard from behind, and then it just shoots him right out of the pack. We've been fortunate all day that we haven't really had very many cars involved in these accidents at a time, but we got down to the end when it was time to try to win, and people like Stephen Light, unfortunately, that weren't even a part of the beginning of this get involved.
Well, at least a half a dozen cars damaged in this big one here with less than 10 laps to go. As you're right on board with Stephen Light in his City Financial Ford, let's watch what he saw just a moment ago off of turn 2.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why.